This is Sonia Schreier-Norris, Project Coordinator for Ploud at the Library of Michigan. Thank you for joining me for a short Ploud-specific tutorial on carousels, rotating images that you can put on any page. In part 1, we talked about creating the tiles, ones based on photographs and ones that you can create using a free tool called canva.com. You can find that video at mishlibrary.org. In part 2, we're going to talk about installing the carousel on your Ploud site. Let's go over to my demo site and take a look at how to do that. So as you can see, I've created a drop-down menu for carousels. If you have any questions about adding new navigation items, see the tutorials for beginners at mishlibrary.org. Let's first go to youth programming. If you recall from the first video, we created 2 tiles, one for a magic show and one for a petting zoo. Let's place those on our youth programming page in a carousel. A carousel is also part of a cover page. We're going to use the Add New drop-down menu to select Cover. I'm going to title it Youth Programming. Normally, I would always add a summary to help the World Wide Web know what this page is about. It's great for search engine results. To save time during this demo, I'm going to skip it. For layout, I'm going to select Ploud Empty Layout. It gives me the most control. And I'm going to click Save. I'm going to publish my page right away. Now you can see with the cover page, you get 2 new options in your green editing bar that you don't have anywhere else. Those are Compose and Layout. Let's go to Layout first. That's the structure of your page. In Layout, you have these options. I'm going to scroll down a little, and those options are going to pop up to the top of my page. I can see that in the Ploud Empty Layout, I was given 1 row with 1 rich text tile. I'm going to delete that rich text tile by clicking on the X in the interior box and dragging the Ploud Carousel tile into its place. Now I already know that I'm going to be adding images to that carousel. I'm going to go to the gear icon and define my image size as original size, because I know what size that I created the carousel tiles to be and that it is correct. And I'm going to click Save. Then I'm going to save my layout. Now that I have the structure for my carousel, I need to actually add the images to my site. I'm going to do that by going to Root Folder Contents, scrolling down to Site Assets, and opening up Images. I'm going to click here at the top on the Add Files or Images button. And if you remember from part 1, we had both a magic show and a petting zoo for this example. I'm going to open both of those up. The text that appears in these fields is going to be the text that overlays the tiles themselves. I'm going to say Magic Show at the Library. Join us on Saturday, November 10th at 1 p.m. for a magic show for all ages. And for petting zoo, I'm going to say, meet new furry friends on Saturday, December 8th at 11 a.m. I can upload both of them with this Start Upload button. Now let's go back to our youth programming carousel. I can see here that the cover page itself lives in that folder. I am going to change the drop-down display menu to select a content item as default view. The only thing in that folder to show as the default view is the cover page called Youth Programming. I'm going to save that. This is a very important step. I'm now going to go to Compose to add my images into my carousel tile. It tells me this carousel is empty. Open the content chooser and drag and drop some items here. I'm going to click on the Add Content button. I now have several means of gathering content to put in my carousel. I'm going to go to the content tree, go to Site Assets and Images, and scroll down to the last two things added to this folder. I'm now going to pick them up and drag and drop them into the tile. I can now go to View, and I can see how the background matches her shawl. That can be nice for getting a color-coded site. And I can see how my text does not overlay my image. Part of the reason that I did not embed text onto these tiles in Canva is that it's an accessibility problem. For users with visual disabilities, they cannot interpret that text. However, screen reading software will tell them what this text is. If you can, put your text in your carousel tile and not on the image itself. Let's try that process again for the library tour. It's the exact same process. We're just going to look at it a second time for practice. So I'm going to add a new cover page. I'm going to call it Library Tour. I'm going to choose an empty layout and save. I'm going to publish. Once again, I have my two new options, Compose and Layout. I'm going to go to Layout and scroll down a little. My options pop up to the top. I delete Rich Text Tile. I drag Ploud Carousel into that space. I go to the gear icon. I define my image size as original and save. I save my entire layout. I go back to my root folder contents. I go into Site Assets. I go into Images. I click on Add Files or Images. And now I have Library Stacks cropped and Teen Space cropped. I open both of those. Library Stacks. We have tens of thousands of books waiting to be discovered. Teen Space. We have special programs every day after school. I upload both of these. I go back to my library tour carousel page, and once again, I can see this cover page, but it's not displaying for me. So I use the display drop-down menu. I select a content item as default view. Library tour is my only option. I go into Compose. I add content. I go to my content tree, Site Assets, Images, I scroll down to the bottom. I move Teen Space and Library Stacks into my carousel tile. That concludes this video on carousels for Ploud. I hope you've discovered some takeaways that you can apply to your own site. This project was made possible in part by the Institute of Museum and Library Services. Have a great day.